Hi, welcome to Out of School Time Director's Roadmap to Success, Module D, Using Technology, Building Systems. We're excited to have you here with us in the course today. If you have any questions throughout the course, please feel free to contact me by clicking the Talk to Trainer button or emailing me at training@bostnet.org. The first part of this course, we're going to be looking at different types of technology. So I'd like you to just take a minute, pause the video, and think about what types of technology do you use in your program. This can be anything from programs that you use with the kids, things that you need to do in your administrative work, email, Excel, Access, anything like that. So just take a quick moment to hit pause and think about what different types of technology you use in your program on a pretty regular basis.
So as we think about using these different technologies, sometimes they can be really expensive, but there are a good number of free alternatives available to you, or, close to free. So with email, Constant Contact and actually MailChimp are both really fantastic options. They can have a price point depending on how many people you have on your mailing list, but they're great because not only can you send out emails to lists that are already pre-populated in your account, but you can also track and see who's opening them and who's clicking on different things. So then you can see what kind of links are getting the most attention. You can determine when is the best time to send emails, and even see if people have opened your emails or not. When you're thinking about customer management, you can do that in Excel, but you can also look at some options for customer relationship management systems, CRMs. So you can look through those, and that will give you a good ability to connect people's names to their email addresses to any notes you might have about them, such as contacted them May 2016, didn't get a response, contacted them again. With creating your web page or your blog, WordPress is a fantastic free option. They have a lot of templates you can choose from, so you don't need to do anything besides really type in that information and get going really quickly. If you're doing surveys and you're doing them online through the internet, some great technology that you can use and is free is SurveyMonkey and Google Forms. Both are incredibly easy to use. Google Forms, even as you're typing in a question, it auto-populates the answers. So if you're asking a yes or no question, it will recognize that and populate that in. Those are great because you can email them out, people will respond, and then you can look at all of the answers easily and for free. Obviously, something to take into account with that is, does the population you're sending the surveys to have access to the internet or their email? With video editing, if you're making videos to put on YouTube, or even just making videos with the kids to do something fun, you can edit them for free with OBS or Active Presenter. And as you're thinking about your calendar, Google Calendar is a great free alternative, and then you can even share it with one another. So if you're an organization where sometimes you're trying to find time to meet, or can I set up this meeting for somebody or this event, the Google Calendar can be shared and is really fantastic. If you're using Microsoft Office Suite and you find that it is a financial burden, Google has a suite as well that's entirely free to use. So that's Google Docs, Sheets, Presenter. All of these are free. This PowerPoint presentation that you see on your screen right now is actually being presented through one of the free Google products. So these are great alternatives. If you have one piece that either the finances are a burden for you, or you're saying, oh, we can't do that because we can't afford it. There are free alternatives. So I encourage you to look at these different alternatives. So now we're going to turn our attention to emails because emails are something that everybody inevitably needs to deal with in their workplace. So when you're emailing people, really thinking about those emails that need to get sent out, that people need to read. Maybe you're announcing that there's going to be a field trip next week, and you really want to make sure that everybody's getting their permission slips in. Or maybe it's sending out a reminder that, we have a professional development day and we will be closed. So these kinds of emails, you want to make sure that people are getting them and seeing them and able to read them. So as of 2015, 66% of emails were read on mobile devices. It's pretty incredible that it's that much. And that was in 2015. So my guess is that might have gone up. And we're thinking about mobile devices that can be smartphones or tablets. So when you're writing your email, make sure that it's mobile friendly. If you're using software such as Constant Contact or MailChimp, some of their templates do have multiple columns, and so you might not be able to read it, all of it, on a phone. So one of the things that I like to do is when I'm sending out an email, I send it to myself and then open it on my phone to make sure that it looks the way I want it to look, that none of the graphics are too large, and that, the major point is at the top. When you're sending emails, there's a lot of variety of answers about when you should send them. Really, Monday to Friday is best, and you really should consider testing different times and dates. If you're using one of those free email options that I told you about, it can analyze that for you and say most of your emails were opened at this time. And so you can send it close to that time because it's more likely to be read immediately rather than waiting, which we'll get to in just a second. So this is MailChimp's just general information about when it's best to send emails. And it will differ depending on the company who's sending it, the type of person who's opening it. But what you can see here is really that Monday through Friday are really the best times to send emails. And that maybe Mondays they don't get opened as much. That might be because, right, it's the beginning of the week, it's a little crazy. And so you're working really hard to get all those things you need to get done to prep for the week. And so some of the emails that you think are maybe less important don't get focused on. So, really would encourage you to send emails on Monday through Friday and not on the weekends, unless, you do some analysis and you find out that the majority of people in your email list open them on Saturday or Sunday. GetResponse did a analysis of when emails are most likely to be opened, and what they found out is that the majority of email opens occur within the first hour after delivery. And that after that first hour, the results really drop by a half. So within that first hour, 23.63% of emails are opened. And then the second hour is almost 10%, third hour, 6%, fourth hour, 4%, and it just drops more and more and more. And so one of the things I wanted to point out to you is it's important to think about when you're sending these, because as you can see on the screen, in theory, right, an email sent at 5 o'clock, you would think, okay, within that first hour, they're likely 23% likely to open it. But when you think about it, 5 p.m. people are stuck in traffic. They're closing up everything at work. They're heading to pick up their kids from their after school program. They get home, they're cooking dinner, they're ordering dinner, they're out to dinner. And then 7 o'clock, they're helping their kids with their homework, they're getting them to bed, they're taking a bath, whatever it might be. And finally, 3 hours later, they're going to be checking emails. Maybe. They might, be relaxing. They might be asleep. Who knows? But 4 hours after delivery, the chance of it being opened is less than 5%. So you need to really be conscious about when people are likely to be checking their emails and really use that in order to help you decide when you're going to send your emails. So when you're sending an email, there's some etiquette that I always like to remind people of because sometimes it's easy to forget some of these pieces. First and foremost, be concise. Long emails, I think most of you would agree with me. When I get a long email, I try to look at the high points because unless it's from somebody that I know, like, oh, I need to read this, I'm likely going to just look for the bullets, look for the bold, try to figure out the general idea of the email before I decide if I really want to read it. So be concise as possible. If you are saying we are closed for Professional Development Day, I would put that in bold at the top. Program A will be closed Friday, February 10th for Professional Development Day. You must find other care for your child. And then you can go on to explain why professional development is important, anything like that that you want to include in your email, but just start at the top and be clear. Always use proper spelling, grammar, and punctuation, of course, and read the email before you send it. There's nothing worse than sending out something and then having to respond immediately a couple hours later, say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I know I said the 10th, but I actually meant the 11th." Reread every time. Also, don't use the reply all feature unless it's necessary. The BCC field means that it's a blind copy, so people won't be able to see other people's email addresses. Some people really don't want their email addresses to be shared. So if you're sending something out, I encourage you to always put everybody's name in the BCC field, and you can put your own email address in the to field so that then people aren't seeing others' email addresses. When you use a meaningful subject line, then people know what it's going to be about, and it might encourage them to click on it more likely. If you just hit that no subject line, people aren't going to know what it's about, and they might just skip over it. But instead, put something meaningful that will grab people's attention and get them excited to open your email. If you're sending out a newsletter, I would not just put, BOSTnet's weekly newsletter, but put something exciting in it that will get people to click on it and be interested in reading. You want to avoid long sentences, right? Being concise, and create an email list that's updated monthly. You probably have people coming in and out of your program, so make sure it's up to date. And be mindful of how often you're sending emails. Eventually, it will just be like, is that really important? I can skip over it. They'll just send me another email in 2 days. So be mindful about it. So these are just some tips about email etiquette that are really important to utilize as you're being a professional when you're emailing one another. So keep these in mind next time you send an email, and think about when is the best time to send it and how are you getting the most bang for your time and your buck when you're sending these emails to make sure you're getting the most reads, the most clicks, and all those different pieces of it.